In this section, we will cover a complete dual amplifier installation. This DVD will take you step by step through the entire process. Step 1. What you'll need. First, let's begin with what you will need. Scosche offers several amplifier wiring solutions. For this install, we used power wire with inline fuse holder, installation hardware, power distribution block, lighter gauge power cable, amp turn-on wire, ground wire, and 2 RCA cables. You will also need speaker wire to run from the amps to your sub or speakers. Scosche has many speaker wire solutions available. Please consult your local retailer. Next, check to see that you have all the necessary tools on hand. We recommend the Scosche TK12 toolkit. It includes panel removal tool, wire strippers, crimpers, and cutters, a screwdriver with 7 interchangeable bits, cable runner tool, wire ties, splice connectors, electrical tape, a computer-safe test light. In some cases, you will need an electric drill. For assistance, call Scosche Technical Support. We'll gladly answer your questions. Step 2. Where to mount the amplifier. In this section, we will find a suitable location to mount the amplifiers. Be aware of the following. You will need to access the amps, fuses, and controls. Give yourself enough room to attach wire and make adjustments. Check the area where the amplifiers will be mounted and be sure it is free of wiring, brake lines, or fuel lines that may be in the way. The amp will generate heat, so do not cover it with carpet or anything else that will prevent airflow across the amp. Step 3. Routing the power lead. Next, we will route the main power wire. Let's go to the battery of the car. Plan your wire routing around all moving parts and heat sources. Let's disconnect the negative terminal of your battery. This will prevent damage to the vehicle's electronics and ensure a safe install. Take the power wire from the amp kit. Plan how you are going to run the power wire through the engine compartment and ultimately into your car's interior. Now, remove the fuse from the inline fuse holder. Then connect the power lead to the positive battery terminal. We will want to be sure this wire is fused as close to the battery as possible. This way, if there is ever a short on the wire or problem with the system, the fuse will blow at the battery and protect the vehicle wiring. Also, make sure the wire is neatly secured and free from moving parts and heat sources. Secure neatly with wire ties. Find an area where you can run the wire from the engine compartment through the firewall. It is always best to use a factory grommet if available. In some cases, you will need to drill a hole through the firewall. When drilling, always check behind the surface to make sure it is free and clear from any obstructions. When feeding the power wire through the firewall, use the grommet supplied in the wiring kit. Carefully remove the trim to gain access to where the power wire will run. Typically, you will need to remove the kick panel and door sill. Now, route the power wire through the panels from the side of the vehicle. Pull the wire through the kick panels. A good rule of thumb is to replace the kick panels as you pass the power wire through. This will make the reassembly process easier. Run the wire through to the rear of the vehicle. Typically, you can run it through the rear seats. If your seats fold down, be sure to route the wire away from any hinges and moving parts. Once in the trunk, route the cable to your amplifier's mounting location. Let's locate a bare metal surface on the car, preferably on the frame. Without a well-connected ground, the amp may not work or produce unwanted noise. Now you can connect your ground wire. For the best connection, it is recommended that you scrape away the paint with a wire brush or a tool. When connecting ring terminals, use wire strippers or crimpers to remove 1/4 to 1/2 inch of the cable's jacket. Proceed to crimp on the ring terminal and use the supplied rubber boot to protect the connection. A dual amplifier install requires 2 ground cables, one for each of the amplifiers. Now, secure the ground cables to the frame and route them to the mounting location. Double-check to make sure your power wire is still secure and routed away from moving parts and heat sources. Step 4. Routing the RCAs and amplifier turn-on wire. Now we're going to route the RCAs and amp turn-on wire. First, remove the radio. This may require radio removal tools. There are as many mounting methods as there are radios. So if you have questions on how to remove your radio, consult the radio's manual or call Scosh Technical Support. We'll gladly talk you through this, or we'll send you the information you'll need. Once you have the radio removed, you will need to connect the amp turn-on wire and RCA interconnects to the RCA cable runner. Secure with electrical tape. For a dual amplifier, you will need to run 2 sets of RCAs. Run the RCAs through the dash. Pull the wire all the way through. It is important to route the RCAs separately from the power wire. This will reduce any unwanted noise in the system. A good rule of thumb is to keep them at least 9 inches away from the power wire. Routing the RCAs on the opposite side of the car from the power wires is always the preferred method. Run the wire along the firewall. You may need to remove the kick panel for access. Make sure that the RCAs do not interfere with the gas or brake pedals. Run the wire through the kick panel and along the door sill, down the entire length of the vehicle. Again, you may want to replace the trim panels before you continue. Make sure they snap in place. Also ensure the wire is not crimped or pinched in between the trim panels. Now run the wire into the trunk. Now let's connect the turn-on lead and RCAs back at the stereo. Remember, for a dual amplifier install, you will need to run 2 sets of RCAs. It is a good idea to mark the RCAs so you can easily tell them apart when connecting the amplifiers. First, locate the audio outputs at the rear of your stereo. Be sure to note which is right and left. Connect the RCAs. Next, attach the amp turn-on wire with a splice connector. Make sure the connection is secure. For assistance, call Scosh Technical Support. We'll gladly answer your questions. Now, replace the aftermarket radio. Step 5. Mounting your amplifier. Now that we have all the necessary wiring routed, let's mount the amplifiers. You will need to find a suitable location to mount the amplifiers. Chances are you will need to use a mounting board to install the amplifiers. Make sure you use a board that will securely support the amplifier and fit the space. First, position your amplifiers and distribution block on the board. Mount your amplifier and distribution block to the board with the supplied hardware. Step 6. Connecting the wires. Now that your amplifiers are mounted, it is time to hook it up. First, connect the main power wire to the distribution block. Measure and cut the smaller gauge power wire to run from the block to the amplifiers. Connect the power to the plus terminal on the amplifiers. Now, we will connect the amp turn-on wire to the remote terminal. Then, we will connect the ground wire. Now you are ready to connect your speaker wires. To wire two speakers, connect the right speaker positive wire to the terminal labeled R+ and the right speaker negative wire to the terminal labeled R-. Then connect the left speaker positive wire to the terminal labeled L+ and the left speaker negative wire to the terminal labeled L-. For a single subwoofer, use the bridged wiring configuration to achieve the best performance. Once you have the speaker wire connected, plug in the RCAs. Now we will connect the speaker wire to the subwoofer. For more information on speaker wiring, take a look at the manual that came with your amp, or call Scosche Technical Support. We'll gladly assist you. At this point, we can now install the fuse in the inline holder. Reconnect the negative terminal to the battery. Consult the wiring diagram in your wiring kit's instruction manual to ensure everything is connected correctly. Step 7. Tuning your system. Now that we have the system hooked up, let's tune it. First, rotate the level control all the way to minimum. If the amp is running a subwoofer, switch the filter to low. Depending on the size of the subwoofer and your personal taste, adjust the crossover switch to either 80 Hz or 120 Hz. Turn the bass boost on. For speakers, set the crossover to 200. Set the filter to off or high. Next, turn on the radio. With the radio on, the amp's green light should be on. If so, great. If not, go to the troubleshooting section. Once the power is on, you can begin to tune your system. Bring the volume up to normal listening level on your head unit. Slowly turn the level control on the side of your amp from minimum towards maximum. Listen to your speakers as you turn the adjustment up. They should sound clear without distorting. Once you have this set, bring the volume up to a louder listening level. If you hear any distortion in the speakers, lower the level control on the amplifier. Caution! Never adjust the level control or bass boost to the point you hear distortion. This will damage your amplifier and speakers. Congratulations! Your system is now complete. For more award-winning Scosche products, visit www.scosche.com.